Welcome back, friends and family, boys and girls and goldfishes. I don't know if it's goldfishes or fish shy or fishy or whatever, but it is Monday, which means we are back here for another The Songs That Changed My Life podcast. In the lead up to my new book, my name is Emma G. I'm a singer, songwriter, artivist here in the Washington, D.C. area, and I'm joined all the way from Pennsylvania, Stephanie Phillips, which is her stage name. Do not be perturbed by her Zoom name tonight, guys. Stephanie Phillips, all the way from Pennsylvania, Westchester, Pennsylvania. I'm saying that correctly. It's like Worcester. Like, how do you say that? I don't know. Like, yeah. Okay. From Pennsylvania. She is phenomenal singer-songwriter and is another member of the Modern Musician family, which is fantastic because it just means that I get to meet dope musicians from around the world. And especially Stephanie is specifically amazing to me because the song that we are going to be covering from her tonight is a song that she wrote called Social Arithmetic, which is about the world around us at the moment, I believe. How are you, Stephanie? Tell me about you. How are you? How's your soul? What's going on?
I'm great. I've had a bit of if anybody really wants to know, I've had a bit of a couple past days that have been a little chaotic because I discovered that both of my cats had fleas.
Oh no.
And yes. And so I've had to have a bug guy come in today and bomb my house.
Oh dear.
Yeah. And so it was not an infestation of any sort, but there were a couple here and there. And when you have one flea, you likely have quite a few more than one. So it needed to be done. They needed to go away. But it's been a little bit less than orderly for the last couple days, but it's all good now. I think it's all under control. I hope.
As a fellow cat mom, I can relate. Like that.
I also have 2 dogs, but I don't believe the dogs were at fault. I think it happened. I think it was the cat's fault, but we'll see. I don't know. Well, we may eventually get to the bottom of that investigation, but as it stands right now, I'm blaming the cats.
Fair enough. I love it. Cool. So, tell me more about yourself. As a musician, you write music. Tell me about that part of who Stephanie Phillips is.
Yeah. So I have been writing since I was 9 years old. I started playing guitar at age 9. I started playing piano at age 4.
Okay.
In Chicago. I went to the Music Institute in Chicago. And
when you were 4?
When I was 4, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then, but I only played piano for a couple of years, and quite frankly, piano's not my instrument. Luckily, I have a 19-year-old daughter whose instrument it is. She is a brilliant pianist, but I am the guitarist. So, so I started playing guitar at 9. I wrote my first song at 9. It was terrible, but they did progressively get better. And with each song I write, I feel like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely getting better as a songwriter. But I have several hundred to my name. And this last song that you're going to be featuring, not last, but I mean, it's definitely one of my most recent ones. Social Arithmetic was written in honor of the Black Lives Matter movement, which frankly, I think it had been kind of percolating for a while inside me, but I just didn't really know how to approach it. And I think I'm happy with what I did. It definitely was difficult because I'm a white girl. And very, very much a white girl, like so white that my boyfriend, who's half Korean and half Jewish, makes fun of how white I am. I mean, don't get me wrong. He loves me and he loves the fact that I'm really white. But when we put our skin together side by side, he is clearly darker than I am. And I'm jealous because he's got the beautiful Asian tan skin and I have this horrible Irish whiteness.
Hey, this is not a place for self-hate. It's just celebrating our differences.
I know, but I'm the girl
all
who
of
has
us to make it
on self-tanner every summer because I won't walk around with the white legs that I own.
That's hilarious. No,
so anytime anybody congratulates me on my tan, I say thank you. It came out of a bottle.
That's hilarious. That's so cute.
Anyway, so yeah, so that was definitely a little challenging to write a song from a Black boy perspective because it was written from a little Black child's perspective, from my body and my skin. And so, but I grew up with a gay father, who is married and has been for 40, I think they're going on their 48th year of being together. Not all married, obviously, but when Washington State legalized gay marriage, they got married. So they think they've been married for like 7 or 8 years now, but they've been together for like 48, which is longer than most straight couples have been together, quite honestly. So, but so, more power to them. I always joke around that the reason they've been together that long is because nobody else would have either of them.
Ooh.
I think they would agree with that, as a matter of fact, but in any event, so I definitely came from a place of, inclusion. I grew up walking in the gay pride parade when I was a child, before I even knew what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
And then I grew up with the other half of my family. My stepfather, who was a minister, he's passed us now, last couple of years, he's been gone, but he was a Presbyterian minister, very inclusive, very, like, my dad was, as far as I knew, the first feminist I ever met.
Right.
And my mom, who's all about racial everything, diversity, cultural diversity. In fact, she taught a class called cultural diversity in college. So, she's a college professor. So that's kind of always been my perspective. So for me to write the song with that approach wasn't strange, but I had to think about how it was going to land on the people who weren't me. How is this going to sound to somebody who is Black, who is of color, who does experience discrimination, who has had to deal with racial epithets and anything else that I haven't had to deal with as a white girl. So that's really kind of, I think that was kind of the line that I had to walk, so to speak. But in general, I'm not a very line walking kind of girl. I kind of just, I'm an all in all the time, go big or go home girl. So when I got a couple comments, I actually had one, my boyfriend was the first person to say to me, do you think it's okay that you're saying Black boy? Because that could be considered racist. Mm-hmm. And I said, yes, because I clarified at the end of the song and say, but I'm a white girl. So, and it's coming from his perspective. So, but yeah, I literally had to kind of deal with all of that. Right. But anyway, in the end, that's what I went with it. I followed my heart, so to speak.
I love it. And it's been one of the things that, as we were talking about before we went live, like one of my personal struggles has been, what's it like to be a person Black appearing who wasn't raised in this culture, and sort of what that means to be a Black person in this country, and kind of getting your head around how to approach those topics. I'm curious as to, my process when talking about these issues is always to ask advice of the Black community and like, hey, what does this mean? Or what does that mean? Or can I call myself this or whatever?
Right.
Was that part of your songwriting process? What was your songwriting process?
I actually did talk to a friend of mine who's African-American. Mm-hmm. And I got I think, honestly, when I first wrote it, I sang it in a live stream. And as I recall, one of my really good friends who's married to an African-American and has African-American children, no, I take it back. She is not married, but she has two African-American children who then had their own children. So she's got African-American grandchildren. And she's very, very strong. She's also a political ally of mine. We worked together in politics for a long time. And she loved it. And she really went on about how it, it kind of got to the heart of what we're all struggling with. And I felt really kind of validated by her because she's in it, she's got African-American children and grandchildren and really feels all of that. Obviously she's white, but through them, she has had a visceral, response to this. So, and in fact, she and I had a mutual friend who she unfriended on Facebook because of the thing, the girl said, what's with why does it have to be Black Lives Matter? It's all lives matter. And that's that's that classic mentality that, you know, you can't, I hate to say it, but you can't fix stupid. Right. And so that girl, like, and she's a nice girl, but my friend who, you know, of the mutual friend, she was like, I can't deal with that. I have to just, I'm not going to cut her off as a friend forever. She's like, but I can't see posts like that on Facebook. So I'm just going to unfriend her because I can't handle it. So right. So her perspective was important to me. And so she was one of the ones, but as far as the process of the songwriting, no, I mean, I write in my own head. I am not one of these writers who gets a lot of, I don't do collab for the most part at all. I did a songwriting boot camp. No, I really don't. I did a songwriting boot camp in June, and it was a huge thing for me because I knew that it was a week long, 9 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, every day for 5 days. And I knew I was going to be forced to collaborate. Right. And I said to my boyfriend, I can't believe I'm spending money on this because I'm going to be forced to do something that I've never wanted to do. But I knew I needed to do it. I knew I needed to step out of that comfort zone and try out, how does it feel to be a collaborator? And actually, in the long run, I'm really glad I did it, but it was very uncomfortable. And so my modus operandi as a songwriter is I write both music and lyrics together at the same time, simultaneously. And I hole myself up in my sunroom and I close the door, and I do it usually during the day when no one else is home except for my animals, and they're annoying, but you know, I live with that. Right. And I just write, and I typically do a lot of scribbling. It's not on a computer, you know, I scribble with pen to paper. Right. It's always pen. I do a lot of crossouts. But when it's all said and done, I'm not somebody who goes back and does a lot of editing. I rarely change. Once in a while, I make some tweaks, but I rarely change the finished product. When it's finished, it's finished. Yeah. I don't say like, oh, I should add this, or, oh, I should go change that. I don't do that. I do it in the moment while I'm doing it. There's a lot of crossing out and a lot of, you know, struggling in my brain and pulling out the Rhyme Zone app. Love Rhyme Zone, by the way. I love Rhyme Zone. I've got the Rhyme Zone book behind me, I think. Awesome. This is the complete rhyming dictionary, my bad. Nice. Okay. So I used to use rhyming dictionary, and then I discovered the Rhyme Zone app, which is always, you know, I bought my phone always with me anyway. So yeah, but I mean, that's kind of the process. So I don't typically get a lot of, once the song has been written, there are a few hand select people who get to hear it first. Mm-hmm. who give me their take. Mm-hmm. And actually I just wrote a song last week called Dance Together, which was a spin-off from the songwriting bootcamp. And in the song, there was one line. I didn't write the line. It was actually written by one of the chicks in the collab group. But it was One Giant Leap. And I didn't think anything of it. But when I sang the song, the quote unquote finished product, to my mother, right, she said, and this is, my mother never says, I mean, she's a poet, and she's very, she's very honest with me, but she loves my music. Like, she's probably my biggest fan. And my dad was before he died. So I can almost always assume that I'm going to have some sort of validation. Now, sometimes she'll say like, well, I don't like that as much as some of your other ones. Or, right, well, I really love the last one you wrote better. You know, things like that. She doesn't love them all, but she's at least a pretty safe space to go to for the first, let me play you my new song kind of person. That's cool. And she lives 30 minutes away. So it's great. Like, I can actually pre-pandemic, I would drive up there and, play it for her before, but anyway, so I sang it to her and she goes, okay, but you can't use One Giant Leap. And I was like, what? Why not? You can't use One Giant Leap, Stephanie. That's like one of the most famous quotes of all time. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I was like, oh, for God's sakes, that's ridiculous. I didn't even think of that I didn't even think of that. That's nothing to do with it in the song. I don't care. You can't use it. She literally forbade me she forbade me from using that line. So I literally had to change it. But other than that, that I rarely go back and change stuff.
That's really funny. I'm the same way. I feel like it's more authentic when you kind of just get it all out there, and then
Yeah.
play around with words for a bit.
Oh yeah.
Done is done.
And to be honest, I think there's, when I took the songwriting boot camp, of course I had issues, I had issues through the whole thing because some of the stuff they teach is just total BS. But one of the things he said was, he was talking about editing.
Mm-hmm.
And he made this whole big thing about how you should always go back 2, 3, 4 times and redo this, edit and re-edit and Then I thought, maybe he's talking to the people who just scribble something out the very first time and they don't make any changes as they're going. They just write down the first thing that comes to their head and they go, okay, I have a song that's done.
Right.
I don't do that. So I thought maybe he really isn't talking to me. Maybe I shouldn't get all bent out of shape over that.
But also, we all have different years, like different lengths of experience when it comes to songwriting, I think.
Right.
True. I'm similar to you. I started writing songs when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
And, my abilities to write a beautiful verse or chorus these days is somewhat better than when I was
when you were 6.
even
my song was called "That's What Cousins Are For," and it was like a love song to my girl cousin who I didn't love. We were so close. It was all about her. You brush my hair and I'll brush yours. That's what cousins are for. It was terrible. But I'm glad I wrote it because I might not be here at age 53 now with 4 albums under my belt and several hundred other songs that haven't ever been published. So
right. Amen. Cool. So what was the biggest breakthrough that you achieved while writing the song?
This particular one, Social Arithmetic. The biggest breakthrough. I think it was that I got a chance to use a line that Barack Obama said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we don't have to choose between protest or politics. That's Barack's line.
I didn't know.
If my song ever gets really, really, really famous, I get to say that was Barack Obama line.
Does that mean that you
have to choose between protest and politics? Yeah. What's that?
Will you be paying him royalties? Will you get?
No. But I wrote the Chester County theme song to the Obama campaign in 2008. It was called Yes We Can. And I won, I entered the best inaugural song contest. It was a national contest and I came in second place. I lost by, I believe it was 3 votes. Actually won the popular vote. I was the Al Gore of the best inaugural song contest. I won the popular vote, but I lost the judges' vote by I think 3 votes.
Oh, wow.
So I came within 3 votes of singing my song at the inauguration. Yeah. But I did give it to him. I gave him the CD when he was still Senator Obama. He came to Chester County and I got to meet him and I handed him the CD. So
that's awesome.
Then I wrote the second for the 2012 campaign. I wrote another song for him. So
I'm fangirling a little bit over here. I'm like that's amazing. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah. So it was only fitting that I get another line from Obama in a song.
It totally makes sense. I feel you. So did you aside from your mother's feedback, have you received any other feedback?
I did. And as a matter of fact, it was from my boyfriend who talked to his aunt. She is a very staunch Democrat in Connecticut. She's very liberal like I am, very active in local politics as I am. And she was a little concerned about that line, about the black boy line.
Okay.
And I said to her, I hear you, but I'm going with it. I'm going with my gut. I'm going to roll with it. I suppose that if I had, hundreds of African-Americans tell me that I was being a racist biatch, I would take another look at it. But so far I've had nothing but really positive feedback from the African-American community who has heard it. Granted, there haven't been that many. Let's face it. I live in a pretty white bread community over here, but I try to diversify as much as I can.
I think it's also really important where the intention comes from. You
Yeah,
know, when you're
exactly.
coming from a place of love,
Right.
you know, it has a different intonation than if you were, you black boy, you know? I can't even say
Exactly.
it with a straight face. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But I, I'm kind of glad that I heard that, because it's good to hear some, and it wasn't even criticism. It was really just a concern. It was like a loving concern from her that she didn't want me to be the subject of, outright threats or criticism or whatever from another community. And so it was probably a fair assessment on her part.
right.
But in the end, like I said, I got to go with my gut.
For sure. For sure. And I love your gut. So there we go.
Thank you.
Um, so what makes this what makes this your life-changing song? What is it specifically about this song that has helped you, like, with aha moments, or just change the way that you think or feel or respond towards, what's going on around the world?
Well, I mean, I guess I could say that it's certainly not the first time that I've ever written about a social cause. I
Of
mean, I
course.
wrote, Final Kiss Goodbye in response to the horrible gun violence in this country. And that was a pretty strong song in a lot of ways. And I've written quite a few others. My song called Katrina, that was written in the aftermath of Katrina, was a pretty strong political statement on what's it like to be poor in this country.
Mhm.
But this one in particular, given the social climate that we are living in right now,
Mhm.
and given the fact that I am really white, I think it was both brave, but more importantly, it was important. It was a necessity that I speak out against the horror that my race has been perpetrating for the last, several hundred years or more.
Mhm.
And in particular, in the last, several decades, whatever, with relation to the police violence.
Of course.
I felt like it's one thing for the African American community to speak out and to write and to, make art and do all the things that are necessary for their own sense of closure, or whatever you want to call it, in dealing with the emotional aspects of what they're dealing. But it's quite another for a white girl who really, for all intents and purposes, I might as well be sitting on the sidelines. I mean, I live in a very wealthy, not very wealthy, but I live in an upscale part of our community.
Mhm.
And I am in local politics, involved in local politics very deeply, have been for a long time. I was on Pennsylvania Democratic State Committee. I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders in 2016. I've been on our local, Democratic committee for, I'm going on my 16th year, if you can believe it. It's a long time. I was vice chair, then I was chair, now I'm vice chair again. And so I thought it was important for me to have a voice in this in a way that was both artistic and loud, I guess. Like I needed to be vocal about how I feel, and really the only way to do that for me is through my music. I mean, I can do it politically, and I have, but it doesn't land as well as it does when I'm singing it.
Right. Of course. No, that makes sense. I'm intrigued, like, have you had any clapback from other white folk in your neighborhood?
No, I haven't. But I also, as far as the song goes, there hasn't been, it's only been, I mean, I released it on November 2nd.
Right.
So it hasn't been out there very long.
Right.
I will be curious to see in the street team, which is now building, with people who don't know me. It's one thing when you've got I have a lot of fans around in the area, but they're all people who know me as they know me as a political activist. They know me as a yoga instructor. They know me as a local business owner because I own my own personal training business. They know me as a neighbor and as a friend, as a local community leader. So I don't think music, even something as quote unquote controversial as this could be, it's not the same when it's being run by people who already know you in other lenses. Does that make sense? Like through other lenses. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how the street team, as that starts to build. I only have 66 people on it right now, but we'll see how that, I'm certainly not this is not gonna be my last social protest song, for God's sake. This is what I'm known for it. So I know that there will be more, and as there are more, it'll be interesting to kind of see how those land with people who don't know me, who can't see me through those other lenses.
Yeah. Yeah. And for anybody who's watching this who is unclear what we're talking about when we say street team.
Right. Sorry. Yeah, that's like
I know that you're talking to me, which I appreciate. I love it. A street team. So, for us musicians, especially in the age of a pandemic, one of the ways that indie artists can really thrive in this time is to get dedicated fans in a community setting where we can not just support Stephanie's music, but also support each other and build a movement together. And obviously Stephanie's movement, much like my own, is very politically driven. So if people want to join your street team, for example, how can they do that?
It's called Stephanie's Street Team on Facebook. You would have to get the little invite, with the secret code, but
I love secret codes. So how do we find that invite?
How do you find that invite? You can go to go.songwritersstephaniephillips.com.
Cool.
That's probably the best way to do it.
Songwriter Stephanie Phillips with 2 L's.
Yes, 2 L's.
.com.
Guys. Yep.
I'm a stickler for spelling, as you can tell. My name is Emma G for a reason, because my name is ridiculous. So I
don't know how anybody ever spells your name correctly.
They don't. This is the screening test for if anybody wants to marry me. I'm like, cool. How do you pronounce my name? How do you spell it? And that's the great mystery. Nobody knows what my last name is.
Will you pronounce it for me? Because I am dying to know how it's pronounced.
I can't. It's too complicated. No. Today the G stands for, I feel, let's go with goddess. Today the G.
Oh, I thought we were going to say G stands for gratitude.
Oh, gratitude. I love it. And on that note, we're going to head over and listen to your song. It's on Spotify at the moment. There's one video on YouTube of you performing it live, but obviously that's the live sound. So I want to, for the audience, whoever's listening right now, to have the opportunity to listen to this powerful song from your girl, Stephanie Phillips. Let me see if I can do this correctly. Oh, no. Hold up. That's not how I do it correctly. Okay. I already made a mistake. Okay, here we go. Share screen. There we go. Cool. So this is Social Arithmetic by Stephanie Phillips.
Mama always said to watch out on the street. There are cops on the beat, and you're a black boy. Pop used to say to just keep your head down. It's a rough part of town, and you're a black boy. So he stayed in his own lane, and he prayed for a big change, just like we're all doing again. But we don't have to choose between protest and politics. Division is easy, it's social that me equals you. They made me come home right after school. She said kids can be cruel and you're a black boy. Graham used to warn that I wasn't allowed to just hang out in town 'cause I'm a black boy. So I kept to my own ways, ashamed of my own face, but I won't be silent again. 'Cause we don't have to choose between protest and politics. Division is easy, it's social arithmetic. The funny thing is that what's hardest to do is the simple equation that me equals you. Why can't we stop the hate and turn this around? When will they see that we'll never back down? Take a knee, do your part, stand and speak out. Organize, galvanize, open your heart. I've always known that life isn't fair and that people despair, but I'm a white girl. Dad used to say that love always wins, no matter the skin, but I'm a white girl. 'Cause it's easy to forget that it's not just a mindset when they see you as less than again. But we don't have to choose between protest and politics. Division is easy, it's social arithmetic. The funny thing is, what would set us all free is the simple equation that you equals me. The funny thing is that what's hardest to do is the simple equation that me equals you.
And the crowd goes wild. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. When I approach songwriting, and I coach songwriting nowadays with young people specifically to help them to unfunk themselves because, especially in the age of coronavirus, it's really lonely to be in
Yeah.
isolation when you're a teenager. And so when I'm talking to them, one of the catchphrases you'll often hear me say is, okay, how are you going to punch people in the feelings? And I feel like a lot of what you do, Stephanie, is punching people in the feelings. That was beautiful, beautiful punches. Not violent, horrendous, made me want to cry, but maybe a little bit. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. That was really fun.
Good. I like fun. We like to partner the fun with the really fucking serious because the world is crazy right now, and it's up to people like us. My mentor calls us difference makers. It's up to
I love that.
so,
That's awesome.
yeah, she's great. Dr. Angela Lauria, look her up. It's up to us to lead the charge and be the difference, be the change you want to see in the world. So thank you for doing that with your music. And anybody who is watching and wants to keep in touch with Stephanie, again, you can join the street team at go.songwriterstephaniephillips.com. Otherwise, she has an album that came out in February, which likely will be re-released, but we'll see. Can people get?
Yeah, my music is all on Songwriter Stephanie. Well, most of it anyway. SongwriterStephaniePhillips.com is my website. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody else. Did you have anything else you wanted to say or share? Or
no, all good.
About?
All good. Just, I'm just grateful. Just trying to be grateful.
That's how we do, man. Gratitude is our attitude. I love it. Yeah. Cool. Everybody else who's listening in today, please have an amazing week on purpose. Be good, be kind, spread love like it's going out of fashion. And don't forget to, fill in the gap, Stephanie. What should they not forget?
Turkey?
Eat some turkey. Oh, yeah, it's Thanksgiving. Okay, cool. Eat that turkey. Do it. Yes. Peace.